In Kindedge, I give you tools where I say, this is how we turn the intuition into something with absolute clarity. It becomes clear. You're able to then take that clarity and turn it into actionable project steps where you're mapping all the finances, all the daily minutes, all the schedules. You start mapping what are all the things that need to connect in order to close that gap and suddenly make this thing real, this career wheel, that change you want real. And that's what we do. We make it achievable in the tiniest little steps because it's not just about wishing and it's not just about leaping forward. Either of those ways you'll hijack yourself and you'll build regret. And so I want you to have a path towards big life change without having to make a leap that leaves you down in a canyon or too far in the future where you have regrets that can't be undone. Clarity, intuition, tools to give you clarity, get anchored in the clarity, and then small bite-sized steps that actually get it in motion without building regret. That's what we're doing here on kindedge.com. If you have a goal and you start doing it, you'll fail. If you have a dream and it's just a dream, you will fail. Success comes from intuition, clarity, and action in real life without an attachment to the final destination. This is what we're doing in Kindedge. We're actually making the things you crave, the things you dream about, the new life you desire, the change in your life that you desire. We are taking where you are today and what's in the back of your head, and we are closing the gap of that dark abyss in the middle where things seem too unclear and too difficult and the path seems too unknown. We are building action-oriented, concrete, real steps to create a bridge, every little plank in a bridge that takes you from where you are right now to the change that you want in your life. The change you crave might be a career. It might be a body change. It might be a health change. It might be a relationship change. It might be starting a business. It might be starting a charity. It might be changing the way you use the minutes in your day or the rhythms in your day. But the change that you seek isn't about writing down the goal and marching towards that end game goal. You will fail. And there's 100 different ways that all of your default modes in your life, your normal way of working, will hijack you because you have to make certain other changes first. And if you simply sit with that desire, in contrast to just marching forward towards the goal, if you also just treat the goal as a dream, as a craving, as a desire, it will seem like that end destination is impossible and too far away and too unknown if you just kind of indulge in the dream. If you're consuming online content about somebody else doing what you dream of doing, if you are a fanboy or a fangirl of somebody else who looks like what you want to become or who is doing what you want to become, and you're just kind of treating it as a distant dream, you will fail. There's something in between dreaming about it and getting stuck in the dream and marching forwards toward it, but being focused on an outcome and kind of tripping yourself up along the way. The difference is, and what we do in Kindedge is we take the thing that you desire, that end state you desire, and we get really, really, really concrete, viscerally real. We illustrate and we document exactly what that end game is going to need to look like. And the reason this is so important, this early step is so important, is you need to get absolute clarity about what that end game is and understand that as you're marching forward towards that end game, you're preparing to completely change and transform your life, because that end game that you seek is going to involve changing 99 other elements of your life around it. You do what I call a vast unchoosing, just to choose one new type of life, one new goal, one new thing that you do, one change in your life. You have to do a vast and difficult transformation to unchoose the many other things. If you want to become a marathoner, you have to actually evaluate every single one of your friendships, every habit you have, every location that you frequent, and say, look, I can't go to that place at 2 a.m. and party. I can't hang out with these people who aren't athletes that always convince me not to go to my next marathon training. You have to go through this very massive transformation, and it's difficult. So before you can even do that massive transformation to refit your life for that future end game, to make that end game sustainable, before you do that, you've got to understand, is this truly what I seek? Is this truly that important to me that I will do all that hard work of changing myself and testing out new ways of living and testing out new ways of waking up and getting everything set up as a system and investing my money differently and doing all these changes? Is it worth it? Then you back up and you have to say, I need to sit down and really figure out what my intuition is telling me. What is it that I truly crave? What is the daily feeling that's going to make me a sustainable, consistently regenerating battery, recharging battery? What is the thing inside me that's going to keep running, that's going to be fed intrinsically by this new way of life, this new path? You have to sit down with your intuition and say, am I clear on what it is I seek? And we do this in Kindedge because without that clarity, you will jump to the middle steps and you'll jump forward, and then you'll start to question like, well, if I'm unfriending this friend and trying to find new friends who are actually aligned with my new goals, it seems too difficult, and I don't want to have this difficult conversation with a friend and change the way we relate. You have to have the clarity in the beginning to say, I am so clear on this goal, and I'm so clear that if I don't make these big changes, that by the time I retire or die, that I will not have achieved this new way of life that is so important to me. You have to get such clarity in the beginning to say, this is a matter of life and death. This change is that critical that I will start to say to all the environments that don't fit my desire and my future. If you have complete clarity on how important it is and how much that thing won't happen without these changes, that when you get to all the middle steps that are difficult, the transformational steps, the life pattern steps, when you get there, you will become clear that one time a friend convinces you to skip your workout or skip your passion project, you will become so clear that that friend is no longer in alignment and that they're not listening to the requests and the boundaries you're setting. And then you get so clear in the beginning that when you do have those tough conversations with the people that don't align or the environments that don't align with your goals, that you will say, I worked so hard on the clarity in the beginning that I am clear that I need to have that difficult conversation and push you to the outer circles of my social circles. And I will only re-invite you in when you become a person who's on my team, a person who's actually buoying my goals. So if you start with your gut, the gut always guides. All of the other things that follow are after the gut that guides you. You honor the gut, and what you do is you sit down and you get clarity. And clarity is where you sit down. We do this in the Kindedge steps process. We sit down and we say, okay, let's just give a general idea of what this is with the words. Then let's get really clear on how we would depict this. And then we get into a process-oriented description of what that looks like. But it's when you do those clarity exercises, you get so clear. And then the difference is you don't just start marching forward. You don't march forward towards the end goal. The end goal will seem too hard. And frankly, the end goal will evolve. The end picture will evolve. You need the tiniest first little steps to actually help you iteratively define the next step and the next step. And your end game will evolve. That end picture will evolve as you learn in those early steps. And so the way you make that end game happen, that dream you have, the body change, the relationship change, the career change, that end game happens not by setting up the plan in the beginning, but doing the one first, easiest, dumbest, simplest action. It's texting a friend and say, I've been thinking about X. Do you know who I might talk to discuss this type of thing? A career change, a new venture, whatever it is. You text a friend, say, I'd like to meet for coffee. It sounds dumb. I don't even know where to start. Everybody else who does this seems to know what to do next, and I don't know. And then that friend will ideate. Then you go to the next one. You don't judge. You don't say, I should have called this other expert. What you don't do is you don't Google and go online and say, let me make a list of the 10 top experts in this and then lock into one. And then they're your kind of guru. You want to start just very loosely taste testing these things and formulating your ideas, your goal, your next step, driven by your intuition, right? You don't want to jump towards, I want to write a book. And so I'm finding this author who's selling this thing online. And then you lock into that. It's much more iterative and early, because locking into one, you'll get sold to, right? If you lock into something, people will sell to you. And so you need to do something, you're early in a phase and early in a project. It needs to be very authentic to you. It needs to be constantly tested against your gut and be kind of right sized for where you are and what you're ready to learn next. And so if you have a goal and you jump and you sign up and you're working on the end game, you're going to trip up along the way. If you have a goal and you're stuck in the dreaming phase, you're going to be stuck there. You're going to be looking at somebody else who's already done it, and you'll just be constantly kind of at the furthest distance with this abyss in the middle. But what you want to do is you want to sit down, take time alone, and get comfortable with your intuition and say, I'm really going to treat this thing not as a side hustle, not as a dream, but as the most important thing I'm doing right now. And it's going to involve pushing away a lot of other things in my life to make time for it. It's going to involve treating it like it's really important, even though I kind of feel embarrassed. I feel like I'm a newbie. I feel like I don't know this new area, new business, but I'm going to treat it like a project that is as important as doing my taxes or going to work. You give it that much credence. Let's just say you do want to write and be an author. Just say, I am an author. I am doing this. I'm meeting, if you're having one meeting to talk about something, consider that you're researching and you're investing in the work you want to do. You're not just lightly, jokingly talking about it. No, you're treating it seriously. The very first conversation you have about this dumb idea you have, this craving you have, this desire for change, this operation you want to have, a body surgery, anything like that, any change, treat it as important and an investment and a decision, and that you're going to weigh it as so important that you're going to plan, let's say you're having a surgery on your body, you're doing something, you're going to plan your whole summer. You're going to have meetings with people in your life and say, I'm having this surgery. I need to rearrange my summer plans. I need to know that you're going to be in support of this change in the schedule. Treat it as that important, not just something you're side hustling, trying to slip in if everybody in the world doesn't get bothered by it. Career change, relationship change, divorce, anything like that. Treat it as this is important, and this is one of those big rocks in life. It's something I'm going to look back on 10 years from now and treat as a critical turning point in my life. And so when you sit down the very first time, instead of saying, oh, this dumb idea, this whatever, you sit with your gut, you sit with your intuition. Then in Kindedge, I give you tools where I say, this is how we turn the intuition into something with absolute clarity. It becomes clear. You're able to then take that clarity and turn it into actionable project steps where you're mapping all the finances, all the daily minutes, all the schedules. You start mapping what are all the things that need to connect in order to close that gap and suddenly make this thing real, this career real, that change you want real. And that's what we do. We make it achievable in the tiniest little steps, because it's not just about wishing and it's not just about leaping forward. Either of those ways you'll hijack yourself and you'll build regret. And so I want you to have a path towards big life change without having to make a leap that leaves you down in a canyon or too far in the future where you have regrets that can't be undone. Clarity, intuition, tools to give you clarity, get anchored in the clarity, and then small bite-sized steps that actually get it in motion without building regret. That's what we're doing here on kindedge.com, and I hope you will join me. You can subscribe here. Please share this with anybody that you think might be on this kind of journey. We're growing this community, and I want this to be the same brain food and life food for you that it was for me when I developed it, because I developed this after decades of consuming guru inspo retreats, methodologies, books. And yet I didn't have the practical tools. That's like, yeah, but what's the absolute first step after I come home Sunday night all inspired? What's the absolute first thing that begins the change in motion Monday? And after Monday, what's the little thing I can do to fit into my busy life where I can hook and tether to the next step and make sure this chain does not get broken, that it actually gets in motion? And if I feel like I can't see all the steps between here and there, how can I be sure that I'm always tethering to a next step that actually is driving change? So that's what I've built, and I'm working to publish it on kindedge.com. If you want to follow me as I publish these steps, you could go to kindedge.com and just sign up to the email list, and we'll keep you in touch. And I'm doing this YouTube channel to stay in touch, and I would love to hear your comments on what it is you're working on. So maybe we can talk about the very real examples. And I'll give you another example that I've read about is when one of the hardest changes is when somebody has a very practical career that's very predictable, and then they want to go into something like screenwriting, and they are stuck in the feeling that they don't even have the network around them. Like if you look at somebody who's in screenwriting, or let's say they write television episodes and such, the people who do it and start their careers doing it have grown this network where it's just every human in their phone, every person they could possibly contact is somebody who's like, oh yeah, I'll get you in touch with that person. I'll get you in touch with that person. You want to write a film? Oh, you can talk to so-and-so. They'll get you going. It seems like they already have this fertile ground to just do these amazing things. But when you're trying to make a change is very different. Change is trying to jump into that type of work without the network, without the knowledge, without all of those resources. And it's much more daunting as you step into it. So these are the types of changes that kindedge.com and the process of the steps was built for. Because I'm dying and so are you. We should unlock the alternate ending to our life now, not waiting till retirement or anything else. So please join me. It's a journey that's not going to be easy, but it's going to be fun. Peace.